And everything that I felt like I've achieved, be on radio, TV, snacks, or anything else that I get to do, I feel like I've put myself in that position to be chosen, to be next. Because don't forget, there's 100,000 people in that line behind you wanting to be that next one. So dreams do come true, but put yourself in the position so they can be.
Hello and welcome to Anchored Echoes, a brand new segment on Entrepreneur Middle East, where we try to delve a little deeper into the intricacies of the entrepreneurial mindset. I'm your host Aalia, and as always, I'll begin this with a disclaimer. This is not a podcast. The intention behind Anchored Echoes is for them to simply be short visual supplements to the stories I get to pen down on some of the most successful and established entrepreneurs in the UAE and the wider Middle East region. So as always, before you tune in to the rest of this episode, please make sure you check out the link in the caption below or above, depending on where you are watching this, to check out the written feature on our guest today. Now, our guest today is someone whose voice has accompanied many across the UAE during their drive to work, school, and the like. He's been a thriving media figure, an advocate for taking charge of one's own well-being, and he's managed to combine those two facets of his life to become a successful entrepreneur in his own right as well. Now, in the midst of all of that, he and his wife have also been cast members on the inimitably fun and successful Netflix reality show, Dubai Bling. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure to invite Kris Fade to Anchored Echoes. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for that intro. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Kris, ever since your move to Dubai many years ago, you've become a brand in and of yourself. And, you know, with Fade Fit, you've sort of only elevated your presence in the UAE and the wider region. But when it comes to the concept of success, what has been the biggest myth for you, and how has launching Fade Fit changed that definition for you at all?
Man, I don't know what you want to like. What is success? You know, I don't know. I don't think there is a myth. I just wake up every morning, and I wake up with a drive to make sure that whatever I have for that day, I do it, and I do it the best I possibly can. I try not to think too far ahead. I just want to be the best person I possibly can be it on the radio, on TV, snacks, a father, a husband, whatever it is. I just want to do it to the best that I can be. I'm not saying I'm going to be the best at it, but I want to be the best I can be at it. So for me, if you want to talk about success, that's what it is.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Now let's talk about something that unfortunately becomes an impediment for entrepreneurs, and that is the feeling of fear. Quite often it becomes such a physical driving force that seldom leads to something good. But there are situations, rare even if they are, where fear can be a positive driving force. In your own journey, in your own entrepreneurial experience, how have you leveraged fear in a way that has allowed you to become bigger and better?
Yeah, fear, you know, and if I do this, I want to show you something. Let me clear these messages so I can show you what's on. A man who fears suffering is already suffering what he fears. That's on my phone.
This was not planned, by the way.
No, this is not planned, but that's what I have on my phone. And if you read that, this really resonated with me. It says, a man who fears suffering is already suffering what he fears, because that's what fear does. Fear deters you from doing many, many things because it puts you in this state of like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't think I can succeed. What happens if this happens? It's a domino effect. It starts at something that has never even happened. And that's what anxiety is. And from someone that went through anxiety, I realized a lot of it came from the back of my mind. It was like a domino effect. One thought of fear would domino effect into the next thought of fear to the ending where it's a large amount of fear. So you talk about fear. I now realize what fear is. And fear is those early thoughts of something that may never ever happen. And when you realize that fear is created from something that you have manifested within your own mind, it's so much easier to deal with.
Yeah.
And I think having fear is okay. I think fear is an important thing to have, because if you didn't have any fear, you'd go into everything blind, because you wouldn't care. You wouldn't even think about what's going to happen. Be it if you're a fighter getting into the ring to take a punch, like if you had no fear, you're going to get in there, probably get knocked out. If I had no fear starting a snack company, I'd probably go bankrupt in the first 2 months. If I had no fear getting on the radio, if I had no fear being a parent, fear's okay to have. It's just the way you manage it.
Absolutely.
That helps.
What has making a personal brand meant to you over the years? Because 16 years ago, personal branding wasn't necessarily even a phrase that was around.
Yeah.
But now everyone wants to have a personal brand. What has it meant to you personally?
For me, it's more of a legacy that I wanted to leave for my children. Like, you know, when I first started this, I really did think to myself, I want to build something that my children can take over if they want. And that's where it kind of started. And you're right. Now we sit in a world where there's influencers and Instagrammers and TikTokers, and everyone's trying to create their own product. And I'm not against that. I think everyone should try. I'd like to think that I was early on it. You know, we've been doing it now for close to 8 years. And we didn't, you know, I felt like we started the trend in, you know, social media or media people creating their own product. I do believe it's only going to get more and more. As we control our own content and our own audience, you'll have more content creators or media personalities having their own products out there. The difference is you've got to make sure that what you create is good. Because it doesn't matter who the person is, how famous they are, if the product itself is not good, it won't sustain. You'll definitely sell, but then it will come crashing down after your consumers will know, I don't like the taste of that, or I don't like that type of makeup, or I don't wear these certain sunglasses, you know. So, you know, it's all about sort of creating something good, solid, and, you know, going back to it, I really did start it for my children. I wanted to leave a legacy for them. I heard them say in another interview, which I wasn't there for, and they just said, what's your dad like? What do you remember about your dad? And they both said at the same time, he's one of the hardest workers that we know. And that was cool. I want them to know that. I want them to know hard work is needed to succeed, and, you know, to be in that top 1% in whatever you want to do. You got to be that hardest worker in the room. And they both already know that, and I push them to do the same kind of feel. Like I want them to be a hard worker, be it at school, be it in sports, be it at home, you know.
Final question, Kris. And it delves into the concept of, you know, optimism, or rather idealism versus realism. And a lovely quote I read, or rather heard from someone I deeply admire and respect recently, went something like, the bigger the dream, the bigger the pieces, even if it breaks. Now, for those of us who see your life from the outside, it's perhaps quite easy to say, you know, just simply label it as how successful, but you know the nitty-gritties of your own journey. And I suppose a lot of that success has come your way because you've allowed yourself to dream big. For startup founders in particular, how would you advise them to stay hopeful about their dreams and visions without necessarily going into, you know, becoming delusional or unrealistic?
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head. The word realistic is very important in this situation. If you're wanting to start any type of business, be it here in the UAE or anywhere around the world, you need to have a realistic mind. You can be passionate. You can say you're going to make it. You can say this is going to work. But I always say there needs to be a point in time where you may have to realize, okay, maybe this isn't going to work. And that doesn't mean give up. Maybe you need to pivot. Maybe you need to change the model, the idea, add something, take something away. But I think with a lot of early start entrepreneurs, they go in there with this tunnel vision of this is what I'm here to do and this is what I'm here to create. I know many companies and many entrepreneurs that started here, right, and have ended up here, very successful. But along the way, they realized they were hitting roadblocks, and this is where they're at. You know, so they still got to where they wanted to be it successful or not, whatever the word is that you want to use. But the initial idea to where they are now is completely different. You know? And I think that's really important. I'm very realistic with everything that I do. And sometimes, and I've got really big dreams, you know, I've got a tattoo on my back that says dreams come true. They do come true. Not all of them, not all of them, but some will come true. but you have to put yourself in those positions for your dreams to come true. Your dreams won't come true by not doing anything. And I say the same thing to my daughters. Whatever you want to achieve, you've got to put yourself in the situation to be next in line or to have that opportunity. And everything that I felt like I've achieved, be it on radio, TV, snacks, or anything else that I get to do, I feel like I've put myself in that position to be chosen, to be next. Because don't forget, there's 100,000 people in that line behind you wanting to be that next one. So dreams do come true, but put yourself in the position so they can be.
Absolutely. I think what you mentioned just reminded me of a quote by Oprah. I hope I'm not misquoting her, but I think she said something along the lines of, all your dreams will come true, just not at the same time.
Huh, I like that.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think that's...
I don't think all of them will come true. I wanted to be an NBA basketball player. That ain't ever gonna come. I ain't ever gonna make the NBA, right?
Well,
But
never say never.
never say never, you know,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Kris, I wish this could go on for another hour, honestly, but unfortunately with that, we come to the end of this episode. Thank you very much for having been on.
It's not a podcast.
It's not a podcast. Well, he just took my line, but thank you for tuning in. And like I say at the end of every Anchored Echoes episode, these sessions, these episodes aren't meant to last more than a few minutes, but we hope they bring you inspiration that lasts. And that's precisely why that's the tagline of the show. Thank you very much for tuning in, and please do make sure you check out the written feature in the link below or above, depending on where you are watching this. And with that, I'll see you next time.